Go ahead, Jack. So stream is starting. Hey, everybody who's going to be watching. This is Chat GPT Recruiter Roundtable number 22 about Chat GPT and AI and recruiting. So I took some resumes of candidates and I put them in there and said, check this resume for me. And it would give you stuff like, here are the spelling errors, here are the grammar errors. It should be formatted better. This formatting isn't good. There's not enough info here. Why aren't they expanding on their sales? Like one of them was a sales position. He says this resume would be better if they expanded on their sales numbers, which I thought was kind of wild that it picked that. I mean, I picked that out too, but I thought it was wild that ChatGPT did that. Cover letters you can drop in there. My son was saying it can write code. You can ask it to write code for you. I don't know a lot about coding, but I'm assuming that if you need code for Python or CSS or whatever it is, you can say, I need code that makes the background blue. It'll write the HTML or the Python code for you. For recruiting, I use it for writing my social media posts. It does a much better job at it than I can do. Somebody said use it to reply to emails. I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of like use it to help with recruiting and like getting candidates, and I haven't figured that one out. Any ideas, Ernie? What about you? I know you're still writing on a typewriter.
I'm looking up and sideways. No, I find it sometimes it's hard to get in. You have to keep trying because it seems to always be full. And I
with your Google account.
Pardon? It probably is, but I
sign in with your Google account. I seem to always get in if I sign in with my Google account.
I don't know. I've not been able to use it to the extent that you've used it. But I kind of, it's primarily it seems to be like a Word document corrector and builder and writer. And I've read a lot of reviews on what people use, and I've looked at YouTube. But the one thing it says, it has a short memory of when you write in.
Yeah, like it'll like you can say, hey, please check this document, then drop the document in. And then if it says there are some grammar issues, you can ask it, what are the grammar issues? But not much, pretty much past that. It's kind of like, I don't know if you have Alexa at home, but you can ask her a question and then like another question, but she won't answer the third question. It's like a double thing. She won't keep going with you. I think Chat GPT is very similar.
One of the things I think that is being explored is writing the templates, the email templates that you could send out to candidates, and maybe having that done, because as you create your system and you want to write different phases, email 1, email 2, email 3, you could, instead of spending a lot of time trying to figure out what exactly to write for that particular job, you could give it a few pointers and it can write a pretty good email. Or you can look at some examples that people have posted on Facebook and copy that and add that to your thing. But I think to your template. But I think one of the things too that's interesting is the amount of Facebook pages, groups that have come up that you can join and probably learn a little bit more about it. But I think
about that. That's a good point.
And there was one that said it's incredible that over the last 5 days we've gotten 500 people to join in Facebook on chat.
I mean, it's the next big thing right now. It's I was talking to Cal, did you want to comment on using it at all?
Yeah, so I had my executive assistant work on it a little bit, and I think she was like looking for blog ideas and stuff, and it definitely was better. Like we've used a bunch of AI tools, paid ones and stuff to create blogs, and it's definitely a higher quality, but it's still at that good, not great level. But I mean, that's pretty good, right? Because like we all believe we're great at everything. Right. So being good at writing, that's pretty good, right? Because it takes a lot of effort to be good at it. So but definitely, I mean, to me, the biggest thing is if you can have an assistant plug in somebody's resume and fix that resume up, versus you have to, go through it. And to me, that's huge. And then for like SEO's sake, like the number one thing people search for is a city and that job in a city, right? And so often we've got jobs in all these different cities. I've always written about each city. So I've always done a write-up about each city and
Oh, really?
like what's the current house prices, like are there good hospitals there? Is there good recreational facilities? And
you do that in your job postings?
no, we link it in our, we should be linking it in our job postings. But it's on our website, but we got away from it. And, it took a bunch of time. Right. And now I'm like, team, you got no excuse, do one for each location. Right. Because that's what people, they search for. And as part of it, I always do, what are the close cities? Because like, you'll tell me what, municipality you in, but there might be a major city I know that's close by that I'm searching for. So we also put multiple cities in that. And, like, you could get ChatGPT to write out that city information, send it off to potential candidates. They can share it with their spouse if it's a relo. So I think there's kind of like 2 to 3 productivity things that we could take advantage of right away as recruiters and better service our candidates and clients.
A lot of it has to do with your creativity, right? I mean, how you can get creative with it and use it. One of the things that going to your locations, what I've always found in food manufacturing is that nobody lives in the town where the factory is set, but everybody lives in another town that you don't know of.
Close by.
Close by. And everybody lives in Johnsonville, and that's where you should be doing your, come join the group at Johnsonville.
Yeah. And have that I try and put it within each job ad, but then also do the bigger separate write-up that talks about housing prices and talks about, sometimes the high school, like if it's a really small town, like you want to include that stuff. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
I just asked it to describe Baltimore, and it's like Baltimore City is located in the state of Maryland, United States, largest city, 30th most populous. City is known for culture, universities, Baltimore Ravens. I mean, and that was just describe Baltimore. I mean, and like I like what you said. I said, please describe Baltimore and its education rankings, its business rankings, or something like that. And you could get a really good, easily well put together paragraph that you could put at the bottom of every single job posting. And you could even have a copy paste of, how you want every city to be structured. So please describe, insert city here.
Yeah. How's average house, condo, rental prices, what hospitals, what are the leading hospitals, any of like the kind of the top 5 questions that candidates might ask. And then you could fire that over to them versus a recruiter who like spams them with a generic HR with no information. Right. These confidential searches where they don't get anything. At least you're getting information about the town. It's like, oh, it doesn't sound like too bad a town to live in. I'll talk to Ernie about this.
You know what, guys? I wrote the key statistics of Visalia, California. Okay, and it gave me Visalia is a city located in Central Valley, California. Here are some of the key statistics about the city. The population, the median age, the median household income, the median home value, the average temperature, the average precipitation, the major industries in the area, and the crime rate.
Dude, that's awesome. That's freaking fantastic.
So you write doing exactly what the K was saying. Just put that in there, and but another thing too that could go. I mean, that's the bottom part of it, right? But if you want to be specific about the company, then you can have them describe the company, and you not have to think about it, but just have it as a template for every job you get from that company.
Yeah, and you know, if you're approaching a candidate, they're going to be getting on and looking. They'll be looking at Indeed and all these things, but you're giving them something so they don't have to go out and search for that. Because as soon as they click on Indeed and Glassdoor, then they're going down a rabbit hole and looking at other employers too, right? So I think it's really important that as recruiters we give good information, and if this helps us, anybody who's a continued search, you can't write up these custom things. I can show you my bank account, and why not to?
Yeah. I just did describe the success and history of Management Recruiters International just to see what it does, because that is another thing. I mean, I have a template for my biggest clients that is all written out, like, here are their benefits, this is their history, this is what they've done, this is what they have, and I have it set so I can customize it to the position or whatever. But it took me forever to craft this, and it still has spelling mistakes that I have to catch and grammar issues that I want to take that, stick that into Chat GPT and see what it comes up with. It's kind of wild. It's going over Management Recruiters, when it was founded, the success, how many offices it has. I mean, like, wow. I mean, that's stuff I didn't even think of. This is why I was so excited about this meeting, because these are the things that I haven't even thought of yet to use with Chat GPT that can make our life so much easier.
What you can't do is one thing. Maybe you want key employees, or, which would be nice, but it doesn't give you that. It doesn't go into specifics on that.
I think you can ask, like, who the CEO is, right?
I don't know, but I'm going to find out in a few minutes after you type it in.
CEO of Amazon. Is that too broad?
Well, I don't think so. But like, sometimes you pick a company and you want the CFO, the vice president, or whatever, and if you
of somebody, name a company, CFO
of Kraft Foods.
Thinking. So it said for Amazon, Jeff Bezos is the founder, and it just he's worth 150 billion. It's funny. It's still, as of my, here we go, CEO of Kraft Foods. As of my, so Zach, we're talking about what stuff we can ask ChatGPT, and you should probably rewind a little bit after this is over. Kale brought up a great thing, is writing descriptions of cities, right? Like, you could send to candidates, or even put in your job postings of, this city has this for housing market, for education, whatever it is. It gives a nice description of cities. And then Ernie was like, we started talking about describing the company for you. Like, if you want a company, some candidate says, so what can you tell me about Kraft Foods? You can ask it to tell you about Kraft Foods, or whatever it is. So, as my knowledge cut off in 2021, the CFO of Kraft Foods was Michael Osanlo. He was appointed as CFO in June 2021, is responsible for the company's financial strategy and operations. Prior to joining Kraft, he was the CFO at Hershey and Home Depot.
I wrote here, write a company's summary of 8th Avenue Food and Provisions, which is one of my clients, right? Okay. And it said, 8th Avenue Food and Provisions is a privately held food and beverage company that specializes in providing high-quality, fresh, and locally sourced ingredients. The company was founded with the goal of making it easy for customers to enjoy delicious and healthy meals without having to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. 8th Avenue offers a wide range of products, including fresh produce, meats, dairy products, and prepared meals. The company's commitment to sustainability is reflected in its sourcing practice, which prioritizes local and organic products. 8th Avenue also operates several retail locations, which offers convenient. Now, none of that is right.
Really?
Yeah, it's beautifully written, but it ain't. Eighth Avenue is is owned by Post. It has several locations, and they do healthy snacks. They do a couple of other types of product.
So they're not privately held.
Butter products, but this is not that.
Yeah.
So as they write it, it's beautifully written, but you can't always.
8th Avenue Foods, a division of Kraft, or whoever owns them.
Well, I mean, but it's the company's name is 8th Avenue Food and Provisions. But I guess the point I'm making is that it can write things up really fast, but you're still the human that has to be the editor of it to determine whether that's correct or not. But like your daughter's resume can make improvements. This can write me a paragraph on this or that. It can definitely help you. In the same way, a Boolean builder can do that for you. But you got to look at it.
You definitely need to I guess edit it, and that's, to me, that's what I was first using it for. Was we wrote the stuff and then had it edited. Now it seems like for some of these things, it can write for us, and that's where we save time. It's all about our time, right? Like,
yes,
I hate doing the busy work, and this can get cut off the busy work.
Now one of the things too that I have always found to be a good thing to do is if I find say a CEO that's looking for a new job. A lot of people will say, well, I have no CEO jobs and I'm not going to talk to them. I usually reach out to them because I know that there's not a lot of jobs for them, and I may not have a job for them, but I can definitely coach them and coach them on their resume and coach them on how to do an interview because they're good at running a company, not necessarily doing an interview. And if they're pompous or whatever, you can tell them to tone it down, and you're coaching them. That being said, with what you're saying about the resume, you could take their resume, plug it in, and make some suggestions to them. And if you help them do that, the goal is thinking long term. They're going to get a job somewhere. They're going to ask you. They're going to ask.
Help everyone around you get what they want. You'll get everything you want. So I 100% agree with that. I'll help people I can't place today because I'll place them 10 months from now, or they'll hire somebody from me. Yeah, I agree, 100%.
And they'll ask you, how much will this cost me? I said, nothing. Well, it does cost you something. And what it costs you is that when I call you, you will pick up the phone when you see my name and you'll say, hello, Ernie. And we have a conversation because I may need you for something. And that's,
you think of me.
yeah, you got people, you start firing them, let's talk, but I mean, that's again, the creativity of how this can be used. If you don't like writing resumes yourself, but you got to check it to make sure that it is worth presenting,
Yeah. Like I think with ChatGPT, it's like you mentioned Boolean, Ernie. It is a new tool and everybody's talking about it. It's extremely popular. I think there are a lot of people that have already delved pretty deep into it, and like a lot of things, there's tons of people that are way smarter than me and you, and right, but they have some form of passion with AI, and they've been able to like come up with like different phrases to give to GPT. So I think like one of like the big benefits of using it, and as people continue to use it, is like to come up with a list of the different commands to give to ChatGPT, and like basically like have a document that's ready with these different commands in the event that you come into these different scenarios where you're like, okay, I need to rephrase this, or I need to rewrite a resume, or whatever, right? But there's a lot of like sort of like prompts or Boolean searches, like equivalents to GPT that you just got to use and play with to make it beneficial. I think it's like any other tool, right? There's amazing tools out there, but unless you start playing with them and really understanding how they best fit your day-to-day needs, then I think that's the best way to use it.
So we were doing a thing, Ernie and I would think it was you and I, Ernie, where you put in, give me the top 50 companies from whatever industry, including their website links and social media pages, and put it in a graph. No, did we say graph format? Anyway, it did. It put it in. It had the company, it had the website link, and every social media page they had, like Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it was, all in a list for us. Now, for the top 50 companies, I mean, I don't work with the top 50. Well, I do work one top 100 company I work with, but the rest, we always want those medium size. I haven't figured out how to use it. Maybe something along the lines of the top 20, mechanical contractors in Chicago with their website links and social media pages or something like that. I haven't really tested it that way, but trying to work off of that is a good way to help you gather name or companies, because it won't gather names for you. It will gather companies though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you write, like I put food companies close to Fresno, and it said Sunmade, Growers of California, Foster Farms, Cal Organic, Fresno Food Expo, Palm Wonderful. Those are all companies in Fresno, and it tells you what they do. The real thing is that they are limited in what they'll tell you. It's not a catch-all, it's just a beginning, and you may expand it a little bit, but if you say in rather food companies in Illinois, it's going to give you a different answer, but I don't know. It's something you got to continue to play with. Now, the only problem that I see is that just like sourcing, you spend all your freaking time doing this because it is fun and you aren't recruiting.
Yeah.
You aren't making your calls. And this is like after hours type of stuff. And because this one will like, it'll eat up all your time.
Big time. Yeah.
On that note, can I change topics for a second?
Yeah.
So you were coming to the latter end of January, and I don't know, like you've done these what are these called? These roundtables. You've done these roundtables for a couple months now. And I'm sure this is spoken about before, about like how to structure your day, and maybe it hasn't. Can you guys give me a sense of like, how you actually structure your day? So like, right, depending on are we sourcing? Are we trying to find new business dev? Like, like Tom, you come to your desk, you say, okay, I'm coming to my desk Monday. I want to have an extremely productive day. Like what does that look like from, whatever time it is, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
Because I've been doing this for a long time, my day is a little different. But if I had to give advice, I always say that half of your day should be spent business development and the other half should be spent in recruiting candidates, and then time for planning. So when I worked for Management Recruiters or Peterson Consulting Group, we got in the office at 8. We had a meeting from 8 to 9. I sat down at my desk at 9, checked my voicemails. I hit the phones at 9:30 till 11:30. So from 9:30 to 11:30, I would be marketing a candidate or trying to recruit. So I'd always have a list of 50 candidates to call and 50 companies to market to. That was always my plan the day before. So I come in Monday morning, I have my 50 candidates. I start pounding the phone. Hi, my name's Tom. I'm a headhunter. I'm wonderful and great. I got a great opportunity. Do you want to talk to me? No, click, click, click. Right? Do that till 11:30. And then 11:30 to 12, returning the emails, check my voicemails, and then go to lunch. Come back to the office around 1, check voicemails, emails, boom, 1:30 to 4, I'm pounding the phones. Now I'm business development. So it could be assumptive opening, it can be marketing an MPC, whatever it is you want to do for business development. And then at 4 o'clock, I plan for the next day. So I go to my, the candidates that I didn't call, right, that I missed, they get moved to the next day, and I add 20 more or whatever it was. Same thing with the clients. Now, in a market where you have a ton of job orders, you can get lulled into just recruiting candidates and not business development. And that's happened to me because you're like, I have so many job orders to work on, I don't want to develop business. And there was a trainer, well, not even a trainer, just a old dinosaur recruiter says, your desk is a manufacturing plant. If you're not getting raw materials into the manufacturing plant, I don't care how many orders you got for widgets, eventually you're going to make all the widgets and then have nothing left to make any more of those widgets. So you have to keep a balance between make sure you have plenty of job orders and make sure you have plenty of candidates, and you keep that balance going. I'm horrible at it. I will spend way more time recruiting candidates than I do business development, just because I get a call-in job order at least two a month at minimum of companies calling me, say, hey, we need help. Can you help us with this?
Yeah.
So if my biggest client was to close up tomorrow, and I would be fucked,
Yeah.
right? Because I rely, they're good for $200,000 or $300,000 a year in business. So, it's important to keep that business development side going, because you can always replace bad job orders with better job orders. I was explaining to a girl yesterday about when you're marketing and asking for engagement fees, right? You start out trying to ask for engagement fee. You take contingency searches to work on, especially when you're trying to develop a new desk, so you have activity, right? And then as you start developing activity and placing job orders and doing business development, and you get better at business development, you start getting engagement fees, $3,000 to $5,000 up front. You can start firing your contingent job orders. You can start turning business away. But this business starts out as a numbers game and becomes a skills game, right? So you can't gain the skills without having the numbers, right? And you can't get the numbers unless you do what's supposed to be done. And that's, marketing half of the day and recruiting half of the day. So to answer a very long answer to a very simple question, I come in the morning, I make 50 phone calls to candidates before lunch, I make 50 phone calls to clients after lunch, and then I plan at the end of the day. Any comments? Tom, you're stupid. I can't believe you still work that way. Sounds
Tom,
good. Sounds bad.
Tom, you're stupid, and I can't believe you still work that way.
What about you, Dale? How does your day look like?
No,
By the way, thanks for that, Tom. I do appreciate that. I've never heard from Kale, so I'd like to hear.
Yeah, so my team, I'm trying to get my team to do all biz dev and all recruitment. I try and do basically thought leadership stuff, primarily outward facing, but I'm trying to do both. So it's not easy, but every time I do a talk like this, like Thomas is doing the right thing. He's putting this up in YouTube at the same time, right? YouTube's creating a transcript of it, right? So anything you can do that doubles your time, right? So if you're doing a candidate call, that is going to include a component of biz dev, right? And plan your day, write it out, and probably have your top 3 or your top 1 thing you're going to do that day, because you can plan it out, but like they say in the Army, make your bed, because if the day goes to hell, at least you've got one thing done well, right? And yeah, I mean, you can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to make 15 biz dev, 15, but definitely have your highest priority for each day, and you can still work on that goal and like mark that off on a calendar. Oh, I got my 5 or 10 of those calls done, but yeah, I mean, really, you got to be ready to go off to war every morning when you're running a solo desk.
And so in your team, like you said, you have like some team members that are working on biz dev full time. Like, what does that look like for them? Is that like similar to Tom, just like pounding the phones, or is it like LinkedIn? Is it
so? Now we're getting to a cycle where we have admin fill out contact information, right? And or find, add them to a lock. So we do a multi-step outreach. We follow up on the ones who open, right? So yeah, you're just going through, right?
How many team members?
14. Yeah, but I mean, you'll talk to other great recruiters and they're saying like email never works, right? So it is a tough game, right? Like, yeah, we get inbound leads like Thomas. We're putting together soap opera sequences, so like a series of emails that warm up the prospect, right? Even though it's been an inbound lead, right? So lots of things that we're working on at one time. But my big thing with our team is, don't be an ambulance chaser. Give value, and you'll get stuff back, right? Going back to what Ernie said, if a CEO applies and you don't have a job for them, pick up the phone, call them, touch base with them, because you want to be a recruiter that they go to in the future, right? And I fully believe that, right?
Good advice.
To pigeon off what Kale said about recruit call can be a business development call and vice versa. I always tell people that there are 5 things you want to accomplish from every call. And if we talk about a candidate recruiting call, right, the 5 things you want to do is you want to recruit the candidate, If he's not interested, does he know anyone? If he doesn't know anyone, has he got called by other recruiters? What jobs are out there? Does his company use fees? Does his company have any openings? And then connect on LinkedIn, right? And it's a little more in depth than that. But really, when you get somebody on the phone, you got to get everything out of them, right? And they're only going to respond with a couple different things too. When you call a candidate and pitch them a job, they're not going to say, well, I'd like pepperoni on my pizza. They're either going to say yes or no, or maybe, right? So, or somewhere within there. So depending on how you handle that first 3, 4, 5 minutes with that candidate, then you can roll into, well, okay, look, I get it. You're happy you're at, and it sounds like it's a great fucking company. Do you guys have any openings? Do you guys use recruiters? That's business development. And the same thing when you call a potential client and you're like, hey, my name's Tom Lasher. I'm a headhunter. Heard you guys needed a project manager. Wanted to see if I could help, blah, 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 blah. He's like, no, we're all filled up. He goes, well, do you guys use recruiters? Do you have a pet recruiter? Or is there anybody in your division that's looking to hire? Right? That's trying to find a job order with him, trying to find an alternate job order. Then, hey, have you interviewed any good candidates you couldn't use? Is there anybody out there I should, follow up with? What about you? Are you looking to make a change? How's your situation? And then connect on LinkedIn, right? So every business development call could be a recruit call and vice versa. And you have to get that through your mindset that you have that 5-point plan of, I'm going to do these 5 things on every phone call. And it gets tedious and you feel like you're not getting anywhere because our job is a lot of failure, but it comes back. I can point out more examples than I can count of people calling me, you talked to me 6 months ago, Tom, and I need your help. Or 5 years ago, you placed this guy. You have to keep that going. That's what separates the wheat from the chaff. And I know a lot of people say emails don't work. Emails are a tool, right? So you can't just email, right? Before, all we had was the phone. That's all we could fucking do. We could just make phone calls. Right now, we have emails, we have text, we have phones, we have social media. So use all of them. I was looking at fishing. When you go fishing, the more rods you have in the water, you have deep drops, you have top water, you have mid, you have live bait, you have spoons. The more lines you have in the water, the more fish you're going to catch. So don't try to rely, I'm only going to do deep drops. Do all of them. So I'm going to email, I'm going to text, I'm going to phone. So you look at recruiting that way, along with the 5 objectives of a call, and you'll succeed in spite of yourself.
Zach, I think what he's saying is right, but I think you have to take a step back further and ask yourself, what kind of recruiter am I? What am I supposed to do? So, everybody calls themselves a recruiter, but corporate recruiters don't do what we do as agency recruiters, don't do what an owner does versus an employee or of an agency or an independent recruiter. Everybody has kind of different niches and they put them in those things. So the one thing that I would tell you is look at it in terms of systems. You hear everybody give you a system. Nobody has the same system because it has a lot to do with what you know, how you are, how confident you are, and also I think your style, your personality. Are you a morning person? Are you an afternoon person? And what do you want to do? And then dealing with your own fears, because people are terrified of doing business development. Some people are terrified of getting on the phone. And you got to ask yourself, what are you afraid of? Now, I know one recruiter that says the goal is 1 submit per day.
Yeah,
I like that goal. And other people say 50 phone calls, 50 emails, 30 this, 30 that, 100 here, 100 there. That's what I want to see. Another thing to remember is with each submit, you get a chance of an interview. And with that interview, you get a chance of making money. So if you make 20,000, the hard part is trying to get motivated to make another 20,000. Some people can, but other people say, I'm going to take the rest of the week off, especially when you compare yourself to a regular worker. And I'm saying an average Joe who doesn't make 20,000 in a month, and yet you've made it. So you're making what they make in 3 months, 4 months. And so the goal, I guess, is for you to decide what works for you. And you got to I constantly, and still after 20 years, try to figure out what's the process. And you outline like, okay, get a job order. And then what do I got to do after I get the job order? And then, source. What do I got to do to source? And there's a lot of tools, but you got to remember that you forget what the tools are. I mean, Tom and I were talking about Boolean yesterday and said, oh, let's go back to a Boolean builder. That'll do it for us. Or do we try to develop it ourselves? And getting the right tools and tweaking them, and then finding the right contact information. And Tom's giving me ideas as to what to use that's the latest and the greatest. But going back to that, it's also doing what we do, which is talking to other recruiters and getting ideas, because all you need is just one freaking little idea. Oh, you do that? I like that. And then you copy it. What you don't like, you don't copy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you want to go traditional, old school, and you want to be a recruiter and you're doing the whole thing, you follow exactly what the MRI people tell you to do. But if your responsibilities don't include business development, like you would do if you were with Kay, because he does all the business development, you have to kind of abbreviate that. But you got to figure out what your plans are. But at the end of the day, you got to just work your butt off until you figure this out. And a lot of it comes out like butter, because people know. I mean, the more you practice, the better you get. And if we've been doing this a long time, we know how to talk to somebody. We know how to shoot the bull with them. We know how to. But the thing is, you're not going to convince them to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah,
and you got
submittals.
And wait,
ahead,
another thing, just you have to learn to not get emotionally involved. In other words, you have a job offer, they turn it down, you could go nuts because you just had the 20,000 go out the window. You got to let that go. And that's hard.
Definitely an very important skill set to manage the emotions.
Yeah, and so it's an accumulation of a lot of stuff that Tom is saying and Kay is saying, but you got to figure out what works for you, because what they're giving you is great ideas. You just got to tweak it to you.
Yep. Systems and frameworks. That's like number one, right? Like you got to go back to the basics, the foundations of having a system and sticking to it. So I think it's all good advice.
We used to say a send out a day keeps the manager away, right? And if you look at metrics, we talk about metrics. It used to be 10 first-time sendouts. He called them submittals. I call them sendouts. 10 first-time sendouts, meaning you set up 10 phone interviews on 10 different jobs with 10 different candidates, right? That would usually mean you'd make a deal. We called it the 10-to-1. New recruiters, 10 first-time sendouts equals a deal. So a send out a day is 20 first-time sendouts a month, 5 business days a week. So that would, and we'd say one send out a day keeps the manager away and gets you to 100K. Because our commission structure would be, if you made 2 deals a month, you'd bring in 240,000, average fees 10 grand back then, right? You'd bring in $240,000 in business. Our commission structure, if you brought in 240, you made 105 grand or 110. I can't remember. Anyway, right around 100,000. So all you say, send out a day, 100K, send out a day keeps the manager away. As I've gotten better, and I'm sure Kale and Ernie, you don't need to get 10 send outs to make one deal. I can usually get a send out within 3 or 4 send outs. I can get a deal, right? So your metrics will come down, and you can take the amount of money you want to make. I want to make $500,000. Well, how many send outs do I have to get? Okay, I need to get 30 send outs a month. Okay, to get 30 send outs a month, how many phone calls do I need to make? How many emails do I need to send? Right? How many business development calls? So you can break it down metric wise. You can do it, the pathway. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And like Ernie was saying, just, figure out the way you want to do it that fits your personality, your style. But I will always say, if you can get one first-time send out a day, and that's not hard. It's not hard to get a client to talk to a candidate on phone for a first-time interview a day. You'll make more money than 95% of the population.
And the other thing is that you got to shape it to your time limit. Like some people say, well, you got to be there at 8 o'clock, and other people say get up and take a cold shower at 5. I like to start my day at 10 o'clock.
Me too. I got here at 10 today.
And I like to I don't mind finishing at 7 or 8 at night.
I worked till 8 o'clock last night. I hung out in the office till 8 o'clock. Yeah, I mean it's up to you.
You don't. And if in the middle of the day, one of your kids has to go someplace, or you take the time and you go. The point of it is, your job is your family. What we do supplements our family. But if you start thinking that this job is great, and you start listening to people, oh yeah, I should have made $1 million, $1 trillion. The next question is, so do you have family? No. Have you been married before? I've been divorced twice. You know, there's a give and take for it all, and you got to decide what works for you. Because if you're into making a lot of money and you don't have family, that's a different role than somebody who has 5 kids or a person who's a single parent. You know, you got to take care of them, because I'll tell you, no matter how much money you make, if your family goes to crap, it's not worth it. You know.
What sense is all this money if I can't spend it with my kids and my wife? And that's
sure.
I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah, and so that's where I'm getting at, is just make sure that you are in tune to what you want and what you need, and what's going to make your family or whoever you care about. And there are times when things happen. You know, somebody gets cancer, you got to go take care of your parents, or all of a sudden they're old, somebody gets dementia. You got to be able to swing into that. And so you keep yourself mobile. I mean, if I want, I go see my mother-in-law, I back up my laptop, take my phone, and I bought a monitor, and it's in California, and it's there. So still got my monitor, still got my desk there, my folding table, but you're still working, and they don't know. And that's a key to it. That's what makes us different, is that we can do everything. Now, the other thing I wanted to just mention is, like, a lot of people got laid off in Amazon, recruiters and stuff, and these people are working to try to find another job. The question becomes, did you learn business development while you were a recruiter? And if you haven't, do you want to tone up your skills? Some people say, I don't know how to do it, and other people say, well, hell, I'll learn, and they set up their own shop. The 3 of us here are into, I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out. I'll have fun with it. And no one's afraid to, make a fool of themselves. But you got to be able to take that chance. And that's why I look at fear, and I look at just people that have a hesitancy to really, like, take that step that I'm gonna open up my own shop, or I'm gonna go make a call and open up my own business. They got all the skills on the back end. It's that front end they don't have, and what are they doing to develop them? But that also goes with people that are looking for jobs anywhere else. If they have lost their job as an operations manager or a vice president or something, I always tell them, hey, why don't you think of becoming a recruiter? Because all you're doing is applying for jobs, and on the second part of it, you're watching TV. So learn something. And I had a friend do this that's looking for an HR job. And he says, now when I go to interviews, I know what they're talking about. I know exactly. I'm a better interviewer, because he learned what a recruiter does. And he can now tell the good recruiters from the bad recruiters.
I'm surprised at so many recruiters getting laid off, and if you're a good recruiter, you should be able to find a job, right? I mean, if you're a good recruiter, you should be able to find a job. Obviously, you're not a good recruiter if you can't find yourself a job. That's what you're fucking paid to do. So it's so often that they think they're recruiters, but what they are just cold callers. All they do is they come in, they read you don't even read a script. They just say, I work for Amazon. Are you interested in this job? And they pass it on to a manager, right? That's what so many of those people did. And they're not recruiters. I'm like, hey, anybody watch this? I'm sorry. To be a recruiter, you have to be able to develop business. You have to be able to recruit candidates. You have to be able to run a desk by yourself with no help. And I say no help, I mean, get a job order and fill it yourself. That is what you need to be able to do in this business to succeed. Now, you could have a team where one guy, all they do is develop business, and all the other guy does is recruit, and that's fine. But if that guy dies, then you got nobody to develop business or nobody to recruit for you. We tried to train our people all the time on both sides, just in case. And if you're really good, we'd hire you 3, 4, 5 recruiters to work for you to fill all these job orders you could get. But if times get slow and things aren't going real well, that guy can always just work the desk by himself. And that's, you've learned that, Zach. Kale's done it. Aaron does it. I do it. You have to be able to learn a desk by yourself. And that means develop business and fill job orders, or you will be stuck like so many of these recruiters are.
If the other thing I can add is another piece to that is you can join a network that'll help you do splits, or you can, while you're doing the recruiting, is reach out to other recruiters, discuss their systems, and yet ask them if they have any jobs they want you to work on, and you can 1099 it with them, and that works just as well. But the point of it is you got to learn how to hustle, and you're not and if you think of yourself as an employee, you're in trouble. If you don't, you're fine. I mean, many people lose their jobs and say, "Oh, what am I going to do now?"
None of us can go back and work for anyone.
Yeah.
Not in this meeting right now, they could go back and work for someone else.
No, because
we would order and count. Can you go back and work as a corporate recruiter, or is it no freaking way? Ain't nobody telling me what time I got to get up.
Yeah, and you look at, and like, you guys know I've only been doing this for about a year now. Like, it's like a game. It's just like every little thing is like, okay, you want a little win. You want to figure out, how do I optimize? How do I get more business? How do I get more candidates? I do want to share with you guys real quickly. This might be an old school method. You probably know about this, but it worked really well for me in the last like 2 weeks. So, the whole idea of asking referrals, through people that helps you kind of hop from maybe one client to another or one candidate to another. So a lot of my methods that I use for sourcing candidates are on LinkedIn. And then, let's just use the example of you have 100 candidates. And within that 100 candidates, 75 of them are, they've been at a company for at minimum a year. But let's say the 25% has been only at a company for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. Typically, I don't reach out to those types of people because I want someone that at least has been at a company for over a year. And I don't know if that's like standard practice, but at least the basics, what I was taught. And it kind of makes sense. People don't want job hoppers from one place to the next. So now you have this pool of 25% of people that fit the job description in a very good way, but they just haven't been at that company for a very long time. So what I started doing is I started reaching out to that 25% of people and saying, hey, it's evident, like, you and I, we've never spoken before, but it's evident you're an expert at this, whatever that skill set is. And in my case, I'm looking for marketing people that have a skill set called demand generation or lead generation. So to me, it's evident that you're really good at this. That being said, I am looking for people that have this skill set, and I am searching for a job, and then I tell them a little bit about what the job is about. And then, I give them a lot of information except for who the actual client is, but I'll tell them what the salary is, 155K, whatever it is. Here are the skill sets that are needed and looking for. And at the end of it, I just simply ask, any introductions would be appreciated. So I'm reaching out to someone I've never spoken to before, but they have the skill set where this is definitely someone I would love to place into my client's role, or they definitely know the right people that would fit this role. And so as a result of that, it's a soft sell. It works in two ways. Either the people say, hey, you know what, actually, I'm your guy. I just got laid off, or this company I'm at right now is not making sense. Or they'll come back and say, hey, try this person or try that person. And as a result of that, I've gotten like amazing leads. And I have one candidate that just interviewed and is going on to the second round of interview that was like purely a referral from a person I've never spoken to or met before. So I don't know if you guys have ever used that method.
So
to me, it worked really well this week.
I can tell you right now, we're all poking holes in that system. We're looking at what you're saying and saying, okay, that's cool. But there's exceptions to it all. Like you talked about the 3 months. If somebody's working, shit, I'll call people if it's 3 months, because there's a reason why they may want to leave. If you talk to them about this or that or whatever, you have, and what you're doing is exactly the system that works for you, which is great. But as someone that looks at this stuff and says, you know what, I would call here, I would do this different, I would do that different. And that is what you're doing is exactly the right thing. Others will tweak it. And that's the part that I was talking about. So when you say, I don't know if you use this system, I think everyone has used a system similar to that. But you just got to keep tweaking it. And as you get more and more into doing this, you're going to figure out your own better ways of doing it. The point is, whatever your system is and works for you, keep doing it. But you keep improving it. And you keep going at it. The end result, you got to make placements. You got to make money. No money, you're just a nonprofit. so you're right. I mean, but what you're doing is exactly the right way of learning this thing.
Yeah, the issue I'm assuming is you don't have a job to work on, right? So you want to recruit candidates, but you don't have a job to pitch them. Right. So what I would always say is, hi, Zach, this is Tom. You and I have never spoken before. I'm a headhunter. I specialize in mechanical engineering. Currently working on a couple confidential searches in Chicago. And I wanted to talk to you because, I don't know if you're looking to make a job change. However, I wanted you to see if you'd be able to share your background with me, maybe share your goals, and maybe a couple of positions I'm working on may hit a few of your hot buttons. Is now a good time to talk, right? It's a very non-intrusive kind of like, hey, let's talk about your background because I specialize in your industry. I'm an expert in your industry and I want to see if what I'm working on helps you. And if not, you can help me. And there was a girl I placed in Tennessee. And the first time I went to a meeting, I saw some trainer get up there and do that pitch. And I wrote it down. I got home, started doing it. And I called this girl in Tennessee and I pitched it to her. And she says, yeah, I'd love to talk to you. I'm not looking to make a change, but who knows? And next thing you know, I placed her for a 15 grand fee about 2 weeks later. So like Ernie says, it's how it fits you and what you're going to use it for. Because sometimes you want to develop business, you want to develop candidates, but you don't have a job to recruit on, right? So it's a good way, something like that's a good way to start conversations with people and then build your database. These are can't helps. These are good. Go ahead.
No, Zach, it's so what we're talking about this, bringing it full circle back to the chat. I just wrote, write a recruit opening for a recruiter. while he was talking. It wrote, and this is pretty damn good. Are you an experienced recruiter looking for an exciting new opportunity to grow your career? Look no further. We are currently seeking a highly motivated and results-driven recruiter to join our team. In this role, you'll be responsible for managing the entire recruiting process from start to finish, including sourcing, screening, interviewing candidates for a variety of positions within our organization. You will also be responsible for building and maintaining relationships and hiring managers and other stakeholders, as well as developing and implementing recruitment strategies to attract top talent. The ideal candidate for this position will have at least 3 to 5 years of experience as a recruiter with a proven track record of success in recruiting for a variety of positions. Strong communication and interpersonal skills, as well as proven ability to work independently and collaborating also is a must. We offer a competitive salary, competitive benefits, and a supportive and dynamic work environment. If you're passionate about recruiting and ready to take your career to the next level, we want to hear from you. Apply today and join our team of talented recruiters.
But even ChatGPT knows you got to work both sides of the desk.
But I'm saying it's just funny as we talk about this stuff.
Yeah,
it's somebody says they talk about, are we going to be replaced? And I read somewhere where they said AI will not replace you, but the person who uses AI will replace you. Which makes sense.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And was it Cal I was talking to? No, it wasn't. It was somebody else. We were talking about job boards and how when I started in 98, 2007, there really wasn't job boards yet. When Monster came out, man, that was awesome. I had to beat my owner, kicking and screaming, to put jobs up there, but it made us tons of money. It made us hundreds of thousands of dollars because it was the new thing, right? Candidates weren't all over it. Not every recruiting company could afford to be on it. We got a really great deal because Management Recruiters struck a deal with Monster, so we were all over it. And now it sucks, right? Monster candidates will break your heart. They're looking, you can't trust them. There's so many of them, yada, yada, yada. So the person asked me, what do you think is the next new thing? And maybe Chat GPT is that new thing that Monster was in 2000, right? And how we utilize it, right? So, we didn't get replaced by Monster. We didn't get replaced by Career Builder, but the people who used it replaced the people that didn't.
Yeah.
That's to what Ernie said. I mean, this could be that next new thing, and just figuring out how we're going to use it like we used Monster, because eventually everyone's going to use Chat GPT, right? Or some type of AI, and you're not going to be special anymore. But getting into it now, utilizing it now, figuring out how you're going to use it now to build your business, to get candidates, whatever it is, will be in the forefront. And if I had started on Monster the day it came out, who knows how much more money we would have made. It took us a year and a half from the day Management Recruiters signed their contract before my owner would put any effort. He was convinced it was just like newspaper ads, that it was worthless.
One of the things that you have to understand is that most recruiters right now are not looking at Chat. They don't understand it. They've never even heard of it. And because you think you're dealing with it right now and you're aware of it, you're going to find that most people haven't even touched it. They haven't even opened it up. They haven't even played with it. And that's the thing with recruiters, is that they don't learn, most of them. They don't want to learn. While others jump into it, like all these source experts, they're all over this stuff. And you're going to watch them come up with videos and training and what have you. And that's what everybody's running to, is to teach you how to do it. So your job is to figure out, how do I do it? How do I learn it? And what are its limitations? And then apply it to what you do and tweak it to what you do in terms of what can it do for me in my process that's going to make my job easier. And I just learned something right now. I just write a recruit opening for a human resources director, and it gave me the same thing. So, it's just different things you can put in, and what Kay said and what Tom says, you can add it all up. Just use the tool, just don't rely on the tool. Know it, it's there.
So we've been on here now for a little over an hour. Does anybody want to bring up any other topics? Cal, do you want to discuss anything?
One give is in subject lines for I don't know what ATS Zachary uses, but in Lock, so putting in the company name. So are you expanding at Amazon? Are you whatever your subject line is, put in the company name. We just did a campaign, and we had over 50% open rate on our emails.
That's like a business development, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that, Cal? I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So for BD outreach, we put in 100 leads, and our subject line was, are you expanding at X company in 2023? And we A/B tested that with one other subject line, but both had the company name in the subject line, and our open rate was over 50%. So, and these were pretty much cold emails. Like they weren't, prospects that we'd been dealing with in a while. So great open rates and some pretty good response rates.
But what would be an example of one subject line that you put out there with the company name?
Here. Is Amazon expanding in 2023?
So that's who your prospect is Amazon. You want to win that client?
No, not Amazon.
He's keeping that down, but like what he's saying is, you could take that if you wanted to develop advertising people or food people or engineering people in Chicago, you could put the name of those companies, the 50 companies you want to target in Chicago, and put in there is XYZ Engineering expanding in 2023, is RCI Construction expanding in 2023, and then your subject line, I'm assuming, is going to be, if you are, we're your recruiter, and if you're not, you should probably call me because you're in a company that's not growing, so I can recruit you.
Yeah, it's just to get open rates up higher,
Right.
Instead of having a generic subject line, bringing their company into it is, really gets open rate up.
It's for business development then for this
Yeah.
one. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And
Could you
super easy
use
to
that
do.
for recruiting? Can we use that for recruiting?
Yeah.
Kind of like, is your current company expanding in 2023? If not, why are you still there? Call us because we need engineers like you, or something like that.
Yeah. Do you want to work for a company that's still growing, right? Because lots of things we can do, but definitely, to increase, the differentiation between everybody who's spamming with a subject line that doesn't have any relevance to them, and then they open it, doesn't have any relevance to them. At least the subject line is relevant to their current company or their last company, whoever it is, right? So
I heard your company. I heard your company is going to have major layoffs in the very near weeks. Fear.
Still there.
I'm surprised you got this email.
I just saw a list.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I put in there, hi, their name is how I got good open rates. I was doing a recruiting one, and I put in, hey, your name. That was it. Hey, your name. And it got.
So it's just having the little tricks, and just after everybody starts doing the same thing, then you just tweak it.
Yeah. No, definitely tweak it. And the nice thing is you can A/B test it, right? Which is good with Loxo. So you can do two different subject lines. So you can I'll drop that idea.
So I saw the A/B testing, and that's where I lack, is being a dinosaur, not really getting into the CRM and that type stuff. But I guess the A/B testing does work. I mean, that's man, I got to do that more. That's where I'm lacking. That's probably my biggest issue, is I don't do enough of those.
You need to hire 14 people to help you. So you have the time.
It just creates time, Ernie. It does.
Yeah.
No, that is, but I mean, it is interesting how everybody tries to make recruiting into one bucket, and it's not one bucket. It's like everybody has a different role, different tweak, and different dreams.
Yeah.
No,
and we say, like, switch it up, and Thomas is getting good open rates with putting the person's first name in there, right? And that's the nice thing, is like we might not be able to plug AI into it perfectly right now, and Loxo was sold as this big AI platform, but at least it's got some automation in it. Yeah,
and Zach, I guess going back to what you're doing, and as you're growing, and I imagine you haven't been doing this for 20 years, that you just add on to your piece of get on the phone and talk to recruiters, and sometimes just ask them, how do you source?
Yeah.
And then walk away, or how do you do this, or how do you do that, or what's a good email? Just, it's the little things that you're constantly building, but really in reality what you're doing is you're also networking, and it's business development too with other recruiters, because they begin to trust you. And our business is like total trust. If I were to send, people talk about, well, you have an agreement between another recruiter as to whether they're going to pay you. I don't do that. I mean, if I were to do a split with Kay, or with Tom, or even with you, Zach, I wouldn't base it on that. If you burn me once, and I won't deal with you again. Never talk to you. I hate you. But in the reality, a lot of it is trust. And if you have that with somebody, it's no big deal. You get your
definitely
money.
Don't trust me.
Yeah. But the funny part is we deal with a lot of big money. I mean, you make it $80,000, you do it 25%, you get 20,000. You're sending somebody 10,000 on a split. That's a lot of money to a lot of people. But to us, it's like, it's $10,000. I did all right. It's not great. I could do better.
Yeah. Kale, are you in Canada?
Yeah, I'm in Victoria.
Oh yeah. This is the other Canadian. This is the other Canadian.
Yeah, I'm from Toronto. I'm actually I'm definitely expanding my BC network right now because I have a client that we're hiring for PST time zone BC. So like all the candidates I've been talking to the last week have been out of BC. So there you go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got a friend, Ari Agency. He's in the same space as you on the kind of the advertising agency side of things, right? Yeah, it's a good space. Challenging right now, I think, but everything has its ups and downs, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, good.
Well, hey guys, I think that was good. I gotta get some work done here and try and pay the bills. So another great meeting. I will put in the notes, all of us that were on the meeting and the chat GPT in there. And Kale, will you be able to do the SEO roundtable that we discussed with Kelly last meeting? And that's what I'll put out for next week's then.
Yeah, sounds good, guys.
Okay, everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.